Today we're going to talk about how to deal with Marlin compiler issues. A lot of people lately have been asking me how to decipher what issues they may be seeing when they're trying to compile or build. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of things that I like to do in order to figure out what the issue may be. So to start with, someone sent me a configuration.h and a configuration advanced file on Discord that's going to be linked below. And one of the issues they ran into was they could not decipher what the issue was, and it took me a few minutes to figure it out as well. So I'm going to show you what happened and some of the steps that I go through normally when I have compiler issues. So first I'm going to click on the build. This is also known as compile, so I'm going to click on it. And this should build pretty quick. And what's happening is all these red marks or text are actually compiler issues. So in order to decipher what's going on, one of the things you can do is hover over it like so. And then it says to open, press Control. So you're going to hold the Control button and then click. And this will bring you to an error. In this case, it says something about the SD. So that's probably your drive that you use to connect something. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to configuration.h and see what's going on. So I'm going to click on configuration.h and I'm going to do a search on capital SD. And I don't see anything there. And then I see this. So it says that the definition for your SD support is enabled. So what you can try and do is comment this out and then click the build button again. And let's see what happens. So it looks like right now it says that it's compiling. So that's good, and it didn't end right away. So that's a great thing that is occurring for us. But there are other issues that I'll talk about while this is actually building. And one of the things that I haven't talked about previously is the platform clean. Sometimes when I'm working between platforms, like I'm working on the ramps and I do a compile, and then I move to the SKR version, which is 32-bit, it doesn't compile. So I usually click on this button right here called clean, so it flushes my previous configuration that's in this folder .pio. But as you can see, this compiled, so the issue in this case, we were able to trace it to the actual SD support. Now, if you have an issue where there's some kind of issue that you don't understand, one of the places you can go is Marlin and explain to them on their bug tracker for GitHub that you're having an issue. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first I want to show you the clean. So the clean button is right here. You just click on it and it basically just cleans out this folder. So there's probably not much in it. So let's take a quick look here by saying reveal and explore. So there's nothing in the build, so it flushes what was there. So that way you don't recompile the same issue over and over. So here's my second technique where I go over to the Marlin page, and for instance, I'm going to grab this build, and all I'm doing in this case is I'm pulling down a build that's not been changed. It's freshly downloaded. So I'm going to go back over to VS Code for a second, and I'm going to first close the folder. So there's no project loaded. Then I'm going to go over to my downloads folder after the download completes, which it looks like it has, and I'm going to say show in folder. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to extract all. And I'm going to click extract. And the reason that I'm doing this is I'm trying to show you that it's good to start with a fresh build if you don't know what's occurring. And this is one of the great ways to find if something is acting normal. You're going to take it back to a base configuration. So as soon as this finishes, which it looks like it just has, we're going to go over to this folder and we're going to navigate into here and open it in VS Code. So I'm going to click on VS Code. I'm going to go over to the Explorer. I'm going to say Open Folder, and I'm going to go to my Downloads folder. And because this is the second thing that I just opened, I'm going to click on it, then click on this, then select Folder. So one of the steps that I like to take to verify that it compiles correctly, first of all, is it has a default configuration already on it. So in this case, if we go to motherboard, so if we search on motherboard, you can see that it's the ramps configuration. So it's going to be the same in your .pio for the chipset. So I'm going to click compile or build and see what happens. So if it's broken, it won't compile. But in this case, at the moment, it looks like it is compiling, which is a good thing. So that's one technique that I do use in order to decipher what the issue is. Then what I would do is, for instance, if I'm using the turbo, I would go to my source folder, my core folder, my boards.h, and I'd do a search on SKR, and we'll do, let's see, this one right here, which is the Big Tree Tech SKR version 1.4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. I'm going to verify that it's a chipset of the LPC 1768. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to change my platform IO first to LPC 1768. And then I'm going to go to my configuration.h and I'm going to change the board type away from the ramps to the SKR 1.4. Then I'm going to click compile again and see if this works. So it may fail if there's something in there that has to do with the ramps. So the way that you can clear that is obviously do the clean option right here. And now it's been cleaned successfully. So we're going to do the build option again and see if it fixes it. These are common issues that a lot of users have come across because they have multiple board types that they're working with. And as you can see, it now seems to be stable. So that's another technique that I would use. Another thing that you can do is download a file comparison tool. What I use for mine is SVN. So what I'll do is I'll actually copy the file of an actual issue and see what they actually are. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over to my downloads folder, and inside here I've unzipped this. So I'm going to go to the downloads folder again. And what I'm going to be doing this time is someone sent me a file that they had an issue with, and I'm going to see if I can actually work with that. So I can't actually see it right away, so it's going to take a second for me to find. I may have placed it in a different place. So let's go to that folder actually and look at it. So it's actually in here. If I go to my Marlin folder, I have configuration. So actually it's not in there, pardon me. So what I'm going to do is actually check my downloads and see if it's there someplace, and I just may have missed it. So it looks like I may have done a cut and paste. So I'm going to go over to my Discord for a second and grab it. So as you may have figured out, I actually use Discord. And a lot of people have found that they can talk to me about their issue that they're seeing. So in this case, I'm going to grab something for the configuration.h that came from another user. And inside here, it's downloaded. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to grab that file that downloaded. So I believe it's this one right here. So we're going to copy it. Then I'm going to go over to the new configuration. I'm going to go to the Marlin folder, and I'm going to paste it right here. Now it's trying to replace it, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to say that this is the new file, and the other one I'm going to paste now in here. So I'm going to right click on this. Oop, not yet. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to highlight this, then right click. And I'm going to go to SVN, and they have a tool called diff. And this basically shows the differences between the two files. So I know they're probably about the same vintage. So let's take a look and see what happens. So when we do the file compare, as you can see over here, the default configuration says that it's 0, and his changed configuration says 1. And you can see the other changes that go on throughout the file because they're highlighted for you. So you can also skip through the file and check differences as well. So that's a great way to actually decipher if there's an issue with your file. And obviously, there are a lot of changes between the two files that you can see. So you can go through and do what I like to call a bubble sort. It's a computer term for sorting things, but in this case, it's the concept. What you're going to be doing is you're going to actually take the initial changes being the board and the serial port and the .pio settings and changing them in your Marlin firmware configuration, then compiling, then change a couple more things, and then compile. And when you get to an actual issue where it breaks, that may be the time to go over to Marlin's website. So you can click on the Marlin website, and down at the bottom, they have release notes. This tells you what's actually in the build and what has changed, and issues that they may have fixed, because these are actually bugs right here, or they're PRs or pull requests, depending upon what they're doing. And this will give you information about the build. Now, if that doesn't work for you, what you can do is you can also go over to reporting issues, and you can do a search on, let's say, build broken. And as you can see, there's no open issues, but let's see if there's any closed issues. So there's a bunch of issues with closed issues that you can see here that may have occurred that have been fixed. So if these don't help you, there are also forums that you can go to, like RepRap forum. And of course, Marlin has their own forum and Discord as well. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to what I had to talk about for building and verifying bugs. And have a nice day.